Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope my voice is as perfect as my face right as my face right now. I was just being a little bit sarcastic in the start of the video because the rest of our video is going to be really serious and I hope it stays that way. First things first, this video is aimed to convey the message to a broader audience, not just in our country, but it is aimed to reach international audience. It does or it doesn't, that is in the hands of Almighty Allah, but my struggle is to make it reach till there. So let's start with first things. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our topic will be the Israel and Palestine war, but what lies have we seen from the Western media? They are beyond tolerance. So let's start tackling some of them. The first lie, which I often came across, was that Israel is targeting a solution and they are not trying to just erase the whole Palestinian community, which according to me sounds ridiculous, but let's be realistic here. So if you came to me and tried to tell me that Israel is trying to just target Hamas and they are doing their level best to take out civilians from the way, which I personally have heard from Israeli spokespersons, defense ministers, foreign ministers, and I've also heard this from their soldiers who are trying to attend interviews while their PM is busy running away from interviews, social conferences, media talks for the last, I think so, 3 to 4 years, way before this whole thing started. Just to tell you, Netanyahu was on the hatred side of Israel for more than 2 years, if I'm not wrong. But let's stay at the topic. The first thing, does this solution really exist? Are we really being honest with ourselves? I mean, you've personally seen videos. I mean, if you're not living in the West, you've seen tons of videos where children are being bombarded, women are being bombarded. One would say that women were part of the Hamas military, but you can't say the same for underage children's infants, to be specific. So what's the judging criteria here for Hamas military, that they are part of the military that is bound to erase the Jews? No, I don't fall for that. So the solution, according to me, in my personal opinion, without any bias against the Jews or any specific community, a simple solution stands as transparent as water. You just have to give back the people what you stole from them. Palestine is not your God promised land. It is a property of someone who worked hard to establish his home, her home maybe. I mean, for example, I can just quote you something here that is been quoted by Britannica, which is a very famous Britain site, and I hope most of the British people won't disagree with me. So it says, let me just quote, West Bank area of the former British mandated 1947 territory of Palestine west of Jordan River, claimed from 1949 to 1988 as a part of Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, but occupied from 1967 by Israel. Occupied. The territory excluding East Jerusalem is also known within Israel by its biblical names, Judea and Samaria. I hope I pronounced them correct. If not, apologies. So this doesn't this paragraph give enough emphasis on the issue that who's the wrong person standing right in front of you? I think it does. So if you're trying to look for a solution, let's start with Israel returning what they took in the first place. Let's start by condemning the Deir Yassin massacre 1967 that displaced around 1 million Palestinians and lost them from their homes. I was just listening to an interview and I was speechless to be honest. There was literally an Israeli person saying, I took someone's home, I stole someone's land because if I didn't, someone else would have done it. Could you possibly believe that? Imagine hearing that in the US, in America, or maybe in any other country in the world. You would possibly be shocked. But not in Palestine, sir. It's God's promised land. Why would you be just shocked to hear this in Palestine? It's God's promised land. The God came in agreement, promised Jews that it's yours, take it right away. So moving on with some extra facts, because I love being generous in these kind of things, especially in debates. So I try to be generous, and if I'm quoting if I'm quoting a single fact, I try to quote another one long. It feels good. You should try that as well. So the second part, can I just get a personal answer that how on earth is eradicating Hamas is eradicating terrorism by inflicting terrorism. You're trying to eradicate terrorism. How is that even possible? Would you ever hear a sane person saying that I'm eradicating terrorism from some people, from a specific community, by inflicting terrorism upon them? That's literally absurd, and to me it's obnoxious to hear such kind of words. But again, from God's promised people, from Zionists, you could hear anything, and they will still make you feel that you're the one making sense out there. But I'm not gonna be racist here. I will leave the judgment upon you. Moving on to our second topic. Just give me a second here. I'm really having a slow study. Fake condemnation. Alright, so if any of you, I hope you have watched at least 2 or 3 interviews, podcasts, maybe in international language or maybe in your mother tongue, but at least you have consumed at least something on this topic before just moving on with the debate. I hope that, honestly. But if you haven't, let's be really honest here. Almost every other Western influencer, from an interviewer, from a media person, from a spokesperson, every single person has asked for a condemnation of Hamas whenever they have been asked to do an interview. Is that not true? It is true, obviously, with no second thoughts. It is true. But the same thing, if we apply it to an opposite side, just imagine this, that the ISIS attacked US in 2001, 2009, whatever the date was. I'm just being hypothetical here for the sake of the argument, alright? Not trying to fact check you, it's just an hypothetical argument, please. So, if the ISIS attacked any other US, any country in the world, alright? Let's say they're a terrorist organization. I agree with that. Yes, it is a terrorist organization, but the problem is, would an interview begin by asking that, do you condemn the US or do you condemn that country? Why would I condemn that country? Because they're the victims, they are not the occupiers, they are not the terrorists. Why would I condemn them? For what sake? I mean, could you possibly bear someone asking you to condemn as you're the victim yourself? Why on earth would you do that? But still, for the sake of the argument, let's just accept it and move on. But for a second, before we move on and we just forget this fake condemnation era, I would love to raise some questions that in this age or maybe in any age of media that may attract an answer. I would like to ask that which politician on earth ever had the guts to come to the media and possibly question that do the people of any specific country condemn what Israel has been doing for the last century? I mean, you could take any war right now. In the next part of our video, I will for sure talk about the Russia-Ukraine war, but not now. I just want to be specific here. Take any war you want from any region of the globe and just quote me that does any war justify the level of violence, the level of terrorism, the level of anarchy that has been committed by Israel in the last century? Does any war even come near to the fact of proportionality? No, it doesn't. Israel has set a level of its own violence, a level of its own barbarism, and yet we still have interviewers, we still have media that have the audacity to display Israel as the victim. On to the next part. The next part of our video is really simple. It's as simple as you could look in a clear water and you could tell that which part of this water is sand and which part of this water is grass. The next part is the most common lie that we have heard from the Western media stating that Palestine or Gaza was given freedom in 2005. This is as bad of a lie I could ever experience in my life, to be honest. I mean, there are tons of stats that prove this lie to be completely dishonest and fabricated, to be honest, because it never happened that Gaza was fully free. Or for instance, for the sake of argument, I said I love to be really honest in these debates. Sorry for the laugh. I'm trying to be serious here. For the sake of argument, let's just agree that Israel has been the perfect political hero of the West regime, they have already given the political freedom to Gaza. Okay, I accept that for the sake of argument. But does Wikipedia somehow agree with this fact? No, sir, it doesn't. Does any other website agree? Does Britannica? Does Statista? Does Al Jazeera? Or maybe you don't like Al Jazeera because it is Hamas controlled? Okay, I'll throw Al Jazeera out of the equation. But does Wikipedia believe you? No, sir, it doesn't. Let me quote it. The brutality of their son prompted thousands of Palestinians to flee just weeks before Israel was created. Quite strong words coming from a non-Hamas supporter, I believe. But since you're still arguing that no, Palestine was given the freedom, I can link several sources here that can prove you in real-time scenario that it was nothing more than an open-air prison. Ever since 2005, the financial aid, the military personnel, the equipment, the hospitals, the number of educational institutes, everything from the mere basics to anything you could think of as a mere starting luxury, Gaza has been always been controlled from Israel. I know it feels quite racist to give such embarking arguments, but the reality doesn't differ. Facts don't care about our feelings, about what you feel, about what I feel. Facts will always be facts. And the fact is that Israel laid a genocide on Palestine not on October the 8th, not on October 10th, but it was way before any October. It was on 1967 when Deir Yassin massacre took place, and way before that. But I still would maybe get a lot of disagreements. I'm totally fine with that. The world is a place to debate, and we're here to debate as well. We're open to disagreements. I have no problem with that. The next one, and my personal favorite part of this video, double standards raised by the Western media. Let's start with a very common example that I think everyone watching this video would at least understand to some extent. Statista, a recent research, not an article, not a column, it's a research. Statista states that the casualties in not Palestine, not Israel, in Ukraine, verified by OHCHR from February 24, 2022 to 31, the in between dates, they have exceeded, listen to what I'm going to say, they've exceeded 23,000. Fine, that's a big number. Those are real people, and I provide my condolences. Those are real people, and they shouldn't have been killed. I agree with the notion, but the problem is that when we try to apply the same criteria, the same phenomenon to Palestine, why does the media disappear all of a sudden? I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. These are 20,000, but in Palestine, there are somewhere around 50,000 who have been discovered out of the rubble, not inside the rubble. There are still some people who are laying dead inside the rubble, and their voices were probably not heard, and they are still inside the rubble. It is what it is. You can't disagree with facts, as I said before. But the problem is that almost nearly all of the Western media has condemned Russia. They have broken ties with them, they have broken trade with them. As a matter of fact, the champion of human rights, the United States of America, even said that we do not wanna invest or have any relations with Russia. Quite strong words. And so does the United States doesn't even allow its allies to have any kind of trade with Russia. Quite humanitarian, I must believe. But what are our judging criteria when it comes to Palestine? Because I was just checking some stats on occupied territories in Donetsk and Crimea. Crimea has been occupied by Russia. These are facts. I'm not gonna play a double standard dude who we often witness in the Western media systems, but this is beyond disappointing yet, in my opinion. I have seen numerous lawyers, numerous media persons who are trying to sit in front of a TV and they're trying to justify the deaths of thousands of innocent civilians, of thousands of innocent kids. This is beyond humanity at this point. I'm going to be really, really honest here. I mean, you cannot expect such a man to be mentally stable or to be human who thinks this way, that just because thousands of my civilians got killed, that was unfair. I agree, they shouldn't have been killed. It's totally fine for you to respond back, but respond to the people who killed them, not to the babies who are not even yet mature enough to make their decisions, not to babies who are not even mature enough to take a morsel into their mouth. Why on earth does this justify killing babies? That is my question. And just for the sake of argument, if I must say, you can watch around 2 clips in this video that can clearly show you the hypocrisy, the double standards, the dual standards shown by the Western media. And I actually had a lot to say, to be honest. Just I think so, a year back when I recorded my last video, maybe it was 6 months ago, I had tons of things to say about this war. I believed in a system that maybe at some point might save lives. I believed in a system that to some extent it may help the humans live. I never believed the West to come and openly condemn Israel. I knew they wouldn't do that, but I at least expected them to just save humanity to the last little bit of extent it was left to. But all of those hopes were just thrown into garbage. It was beyond my expectations, to be honest. The world right now has been witnessing a genocide. And at this point, I don't have words to speak on this. I mean, what else should I speak? There are thousands of children dead, and you still want someone to come and present facts that how they were innocent and not related to the war. This is beyond my understanding. That's all I could say. So thanks for the video. Jazakallah khair.
Should continue a military occupation of the West Bank, just like I thought it should have continued a military occupation of Gaza. But I'm opposed and have been opposed to civilian settlements since 1967. Right? And I'd like to see them ended in a process that leads to a two-state solution. By the way, I'm curious whether my fellow guest here supports the right of Israel to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people alongside a Palestinian state. Do you agree that Israel has the right to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people? Yes or no?
I think it's a viable option. In 2002, not just Hamas agreed to this, by the way, in what's called the Arab Initiative. The Arab
Convention. They didn't.
Hold on, you've just...
From Long Island.
From New York. What right do you have to live here?
The right I have is that the owner of the house wants me to live here, and he wants there to be Jews living in this house, and he wants to... And I got chosen for whatever reason. It ended up being me.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
So why do you live here?
Because I live here, because it's important, and because not too many people want to live here, and it's important to strengthen this neighborhood, to make sure that this neighborhood is not lost in any future peace deal.
So your position here is a political position to keep Palestinians out of it?
Not to keep Palestinians out of it, to keep Jews in it.
And therefore keep the Palestinians who are here out of it?
No, that's not, no. That's a necessary evil. And they're not coming back into here. So whether I am here, whether I am not here, whether it's me, whether it's someone else, whether it's a monkey, whether it's a giraffe, they're not coming back into this house ever. I understand why they're angry at me. I understand why they dislike me. But I did not do this to them. I'm not doing this to them. And as I said, if I leave, I'll be replaced immediately. And I venture to think that whoever comes here is not going to be as easygoing as I am.
I'm about to answer you. I think there is a big difference between what they did in the targeting of the pages and what they did with the airstrikes, which were far more indiscriminate and killed far more civilians. I mean, and my question for Netanyahu, if he would dare to do an interview with me, which he now won't, but if he did, I would say, what are you trying to achieve here? Because it seems to me you're just levelling Gaza, killing tens of thousands of people in the process.
He's trying to stay in office.
You're never going to finish off Hamas completely. You're certainly not doing anything but, in my view, fueling their ideology. And you have no plan for what happens in Gaza afterwards.
Agreed.
And you have a bunch of right-wing nut jobs in your
finally agree.
Who actually do speak in quite a genocidal way. All of that I agree.
They are about Lebanon too, by the way. You know that, right? They're speaking about Lebanon in a genocidal way too.
I think there are people there who just want total war with everything to do with Palestinians.
But don't you think someone like you with your huge platform should be calling that out consistently?
I do, but I also think...
you just gave me a whole thing. Iran backs Hamas, Hezbollah, terrorism. That just sounds like an Israeli narrative.
You take one side completely.
Just like you do in Ukraine.
No, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm consistent. I take the side of the Ukrainian people under occupation and the Palestinian people under occupation. I'm consistent.
No, you're not. They're totally different situations.
You have to say that because you're not consistent.
And you have to say what you say.
No, but I literally described it. 2 people's under foreign occupation, 2 people's having their hospitals bombed, 2 people's having their kids killed, 2 people facing governments that say genocidal stuff. Yeah, I'm consistent.
One is a democracy and an ally of the
Says
West,
you.
and one is not.
Oh, ally of the West. What little slip in there? What's that got to do with anything? So allies of the West get to be genocidal?
No.
Why did you say ally of the West? Why is that relevant?
I don't believe what they're doing in
So
Gaza.
if Russia was an ally of the West, they could
hang
kill
on.
people in Ukraine?
I don't believe what they're doing in Gaza is genocide. You do, I don't.
Well,
genocide is the complete
put genocide to one side. Whether we agree or not on genocide, and it is genocidal.
It's not
You just
genocide.
said they're your ally of the West. Why is that relevant?
I think it's important that you support.
So if you're an
allies.
ally of the West, you get to kill kids?
No, you get
So
support.
why is it relevant?
You support.
You're making my point for me, Piers.
You
I'm
support-
consistent.